Before a tire can be serviced, it must be removed from the vehicle. In many instances, it's as simple as using an impact wrench to loosen the lug nuts, while in others, it requires additional steps to ensure none of the wheel end components are damaged. On passenger vehicles and light trucks, there are two types of wheel assemblies: steel wheels that usually include a wheel cover, and alloy wheels that may or may not include a center cap and/or plastic lug cover. The first step to properly remove a tire and wheel assembly is to identify the type of wheel that is being serviced. In this instance, the vehicle has steel wheels with wheel covers, but this vehicle has alloy wheels with center caps. When servicing the tires and wheels on a vehicle with steel wheels and wheel covers, the first step is to identify the type of wheel cover that's in place. These wheel covers are secured to the vehicle by the lug nuts, so they cannot be removed until some or all of the nuts have been removed. Do not use an impact wrench to remove the plastic lugs. This can damage them and limit their ability to stay secure. However, the wheel covers on this vehicle are not secured by the lug nuts, so they should be removed with a wheel cover removal tool before the lug nuts are loosened. Finally, some wheel covers have molded lug nuts that are purely cosmetic, so using an impact wrench will destroy them. Once the type of wheel cover has been identified, the technician must select the correct socket for the lug nuts. The lug nuts on most passenger cars and minivans can be removed with one of two different flip sockets. The metric version has a 19mm hex on one side and a 21mm hex on the other. The standard version has a 3/4 inch hex on one side and a 13/16 inch hex on the other. However, import vehicles like Audi, Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes require a 17mm socket to remove the lug bolts that screw into the hub. Larger vehicles, such as SUVs and light trucks, typically require a 7/8 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/16 inch, 19mm, 22mm, or 23mm socket. Although the difference may appear to be minimal, using a 7/8 inch socket on a 22mm lug nut can be a problem, especially when the nuts have chrome caps. As you can see, the 7/8 inch socket is slightly larger than the 22mm lug nut, but the 22mm socket has a much tighter fit. On light truck tires with all steel construction, the inflation pressure must be checked before attempting to loosen any lug nuts. If the pressure is less than 80% of the operating pressure, then the tire must be completely deflated before removing the assembly from the vehicle to guard against the dangers of a potential zipper rupture. It's also important to remember that impact wrenches require impact sockets. Impact sockets are designed to absorb the energy from the hammer mechanism inside the wrench. Chrome sockets are not designed for use on impact wrenches, so the hammer mechanism can cause them to shatter and create shrapnel that may injure the technician. Never use a chrome socket or a non-impact rated socket on an impact wrench. After the correct socket has been confirmed, make sure the impact wrench is set in the reverse direction and remove the lug nuts, being careful not to apply force to the tool after they're removed. If the lug nut is allowed to spin on the end of the stud for any extended length of time, the threads could be damaged, so technicians should release the trigger as soon as the lug nut is free from the stud. Wheel lock nuts must be removed by hand so the key is not damaged. Do not use an impact wrench to remove wheel locks. The lug nuts should be stored on one of the lift arms or in a container that prevents them from attracting dirt and other debris on the floor. Once the fasteners are removed from all the studs, the assembly can be removed from the vehicle. Do not lean the assembly against the lift or the vehicle, since it may fall over, damaging the wheel face. If the assembly cannot be removed from the vehicle after the lug nuts have been removed, thread two lug nuts opposite each other on by hand several turns until almost snug. And use a rubber mallet or dead blow hammer to strike the inner rim flange of the wheel. Never use a steel hammer to strike the inner rim flange of a wheel that is stuck on the hub. As a last resort, it is acceptable to hand tighten the lug nuts and then lower the vehicle so that it can be slowly driven backwards and forwards until the wheel breaks free.